regular intro. So, welcome everyone to today's NTAC session, our Youth and Young Adult Support Space, or our YES. As always, we're just so grateful that y'all are able to take the time to be here today. And as I noted before we get started, we just have our regular housekeeping intro items to go over with you. And in the meantime, as always, we'd love to learn more about you in the chat. If you could take a minute to introduce yourselves, sharing your organization, your roles, and where you're located. That way folks can get a little bit more acquainted in this space. And let's keep it going, y'all. So as part of the session, we must provide you with the following disclaimer. So this presentation was prepared by NTAC under a cooperative agreement from SAMHSA. And while this event is supported by SAMHSA, the contents are those of the authors and do not necessarily represent the official views of SAMHSA, HHS, or the US government. And while we hope that there are no security issues that come up today, in the event that any may occur, this session will immediately end and you will be notified by email how to join a new session. And as always, we want to give credit to our wonderful partners. These are national partners that have come together to utilize their expertise and their subject matter knowledge to help inform the field by creating products, resources, and sessions like this one to enhance the behavioral and mental health fields. And as a center, our vision is that all children, youth, and families living with and impacted by mental health experiences will have access to the resources and opportunities that they need to thrive in a comprehensive and equitable system of care. We serve a wide cross-sector audience, including everyone from state leaders to providers to the school workforce, infant and early childhood providers, community-based providers, peer supervisors, family partners, youth partners, and much more. Our services range from individual consultation to more in-depth sessions like the one that we're offering today. But our aim in general is to really create those meaningful outlets for communication, collaboration, and resource sharing amongst all of us. So please also make sure to check out all of our amazing resources and archived presentations on our website, or go to the Contact Us link there to request consultation or training. Right. And we have just our regular FAQs to address. So following today's session, y'all will receive an email where you will receive your certificate of completion, as well as this slide deck. I will say that this session is being recorded, but purely for internal use only. So this is truly a feedback session. All of the wonderful feedback that we gather from y'all today, we will highlight in a document that will be shared with y'all. And that recording will simply be used to ensure that we capture all of this wonderful feedback in addition to notes taken in real time for y'all and for the folks looking to continue informing this effort that we're going to be showcasing and seeking feedback on today. And you may have already received a copy of this slide deck, but if you haven't already, you will receive it after this session. So I know we're breezing through this a little quickly, but now that we've made it through our housekeeping items, we want to welcome you again to today's session. And for those who are new here, YAS is a virtual learning space for those who are working in and leading youth-centered programs and organizations to come together. YAS is perfect for leaders of Youth Move chapters and other youth-run programs that engage youth with lived experience with mental health and change-making. So this monthly space is designed for in-depth presentations and conversations with peers and folks working in the field, asking questions and sharing resources, and discussing challenges and successes with others across the country doing similar work. All right, so our agenda for today, we've already moved through a little bit of this, right? But now transitioning into the meat and potatoes, if you will, of this session, starting with introducing your facilitators for this session, myself being one of them. So I'm sure a lot of y'all know me at this point, but if not, my name is Shane McDonald. My pronouns are they, them, and theirs, and I am a youth program coordinator with Youth Move National. I will also share that I'm a person of many lived and living experiences, and I am always just so grateful to be here and to share space with all of you in this way. So with that, Jasmine, if you'd like to introduce yourself, I'd love to give you that opportunity.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jasmine Boatwright. Oh, I didn't realize I had this background. Well, let's be in safe. Um, I'm Jasmine Boatwright. I'm a youth programs coordinator. I use she, her pronouns. I've been with Youth Move National about almost 6 years now. I came to Youth Move National with a host of different experiences around youth engagement and system of care, um, youth engagement and governance, anything youth engagement, peer support, you name it. I probably had some type of job supporting it. So, with that being said, thank you all for allowing me to be here. And I'm interested in having some fun with you all today. Shane, I'll pass it back over to you.
All right. Awesome. So today we are diving into a crucial conversation about centering youth perspectives and advocacy through creative expression. It's about more than just giving young people a platform to be creative in this way, right? It's about listening, understanding, and acting on the unique insights they offer through their artistry. Creative expression can be a really powerful way for young people to articulate their lived experiences, challenges, and visions for positive change. It really allows them to transform their personal stories into catalysts for understanding and action, bridging gaps between diverse experiences and the systems designed to support them. So as we explore this topic, we definitely recognize the profound impact, as I imagine we all do, that comes from truly amplifying youth voices and the creative pathways they use to express them. And more specifically, today we want to showcase NTAC's Amplify Youth Voice Collaborative as a wonderful example of this work. And as I've alluded to already, seek some feedback from all of you. So just to kind of show the story of this collaborative, the Amplify Youth Voice, or the AYV collaborative, was born out of a desire to recognize the power of creative writing as both a therapeutic tool and a way to center the voices and experiences of young people in systems of care. So this initiative created a platform for young people with mental health lived experiences in order to express their unique stories in their words and to advocate for greater change through calls to action. So this was the result rather of a year-long collaboration among many talented and committed individuals and agencies, including Southern Word and Nashville, Tennessee. So across all of these collaborations and partnerships, NTAC provided 10 young poets from across the country the opportunity to participate in intensive writing and performance workshops. And during these workshops, the poets worked with writing coaches to create and hone their final spoken word pieces. 4 of these poets and their coaches also collaborated with the dynamic team at Tishna Films to bring their spoken word pieces to life on film and are highlighted on the Amplify Youth Voice webpage. So the goal for this is to really be a living initiative, and we're currently thinking through ways that we can uplift this project and take it to the next level. So we're definitely hoping for your thoughts on that as we showcase this effort today. So as part of the Amplify Youth Voice call to action, poets were asked to share their resources and considerations that were helpful to them in their journeys. And all of the info that they shared is included on the poets' individual pages on that AYV web page. And today we're going to be showing you each of the recorded pieces from these 4 amazing young poets. And this is how the flow is going to go. So after each video, we're going to give you just a minute, maybe even a little less than a minute, to share buzzwords that came up for you using polls. And after all of the videos are shared, we'll do a larger debrief on your thoughts on these videos in general, on the overall project, as well as your recommendations for how these videos and greater initiative can be integrated into your work with young people. And if you're involved in similar work in your communities, we'd love to learn more about those efforts as well. So just a brief content note, and then we want to make sure that you have access to those polls before we share the first video. first, we're going to drop a link in the chat to the Menti polls. Menti is the platform that we'll be using for this, so dropping in that in the chat now. Just to be clear, this is one link for each of the questions that you will be asked across this polling. So once you answer the first question, when I prompt you to do so, don't close out that tab, keep it open because it'll prompt with another question that'll ask you to answer when we get to it. So that link is dropped in the chat. If you want to open it up and have it ready in another tab for when we get to it, please do. But just one more note before we start showing you these wonderful videos, just on content, right? This session does include references to trauma and other potentially activating content by youth and young adults with lived experience. So please keep that in mind, and please do honor your right to self-care throughout this session. Oh, and thank you, Suki. Can you mention the code so that we can join by phone too? Yeah, so if you go to mentimeter.com or menti.com rather, it'll prompt you to use a code, and the code is 11372769. And I can put that in the chat too. Hoping that folks can get onto that, whether you're on another tab on your computer or using a phone. But with that, we're going to share our first video. And if I could get like a thumbs up, thumbs down that folks can hear this once I start, or once we start playing it, that would be awesome. And Bridget, I'm going to try from my end to play it. And if it doesn't work, it's not. So if you could play the video and full screen it, awesome.
Okay. This first video is from 21-year-old Ikena, and it's entitled A Woman's Love. So let's go. Let's see if it plays.
Nobody can love me like I hate me. There's an itch just beneath the surface of my skin, an overwhelming urge to dream sunlight away, to stay up with the stars till the break of day, to be loved until I forget how terrified I am of everything. I want desire that burns holes through the walls I've built up around my heart, but nobody can love me like I hate me. And I've spent my entire life moving all of me out of the way. And in accommodating me for others, I was left alone, with a body that can't love me and an ardent desire to burn down every carefree memory. My eyes remember trauma, my muscles remember their agony, my mind remembers my beginning as a blank canvas, all pure and new and waiting. And then someday, someone painted a girl on that canvas, just the kind of girl the world wanted to see, all hungry and hurting and needing a machine for loving others. Nothing in me was not made by misery. I love them not. All I can do is let my heart bleed, simultaneously drowning and breathing life into my suffering. I can never forgive myself. Nobody can love me like I hate me. Nobody knows that I hoard my pain like precious jewels, that I feel as though I must repent for continuing to exist. I do remember contentment, tiny moments of silence as the sun rises into the sky, fleeting memories of skin pressed against skin, small fragments of time halted, haunting reminders that beyond fleeting bouts of happiness, nothing awaits. I yearn to lose myself to joy, yet I find myself falling forever and mistaking it for flight. I'd like to dream for 1,000 years without torment, for in my darkest hours I burn, and my suffering feels religious. I want so badly to be pure again, to wash away my sins with innocent little things, to be a doll, a marionette without agony. Sometimes I can look in the mirror and see all the women in my life reflected. The treachery that composes their beings, the pain rigid in their bodies, the bruises left on their throats from times they were choked by other people's words. And I can almost feel their hearts give in under the pressure. But I will revive this sad organ of mine. Before I forget how to feel, before my ink runs dry, I must remember that I am kind enough to allow myself tenderness. When I'm finished being the bloodhound chasing the fox, I will learn how to love. When I'm finally done being the hunter and the hunted, I'll allow myself time to clean my wounds, to scrub the blood from under my nails, to paint them pretty, to mourn and to heal, and to teach me to love me so much more than I used to hate me.
All right, friends. So as folks are digesting that, I would love for you to go to that link and share your thoughts in that first poll, right? What words come to mind after watching Ayakina's video? And I can share my screen so that folks can see what folks are sharing. And I apologize, I realize now that there's a typo, that L should be an I for Ayakina's name, but and are folks seeing my full screen? Awesome. So I love all of these words that are coming up already. And again, we're just giving you just like a few moments to add to this for time. And then I promise we will give you all an opportunity to share your thoughts beyond just single words after all these videos are done. So I love this so much. These are amazing. Thank you for sharing. All right. And I know this is a lot. So again, honor your right to self-care as we move on to the next video. So let me stop sharing. Bridget, if you'd like to go ahead and share again. And folks, absolutely, if you want to, feel free to add your thoughts to this chat too. If tech isn't serving you for these polls, that's also amazing. Awesome. All right.
Hey
So
team,
go
I
ahead.
had to go off of camera because I'm getting some unstable internet. We have a thunderstorm going on. But our next video is from the poet Lo Crane, who's 17 years old, and it's called Autotopia. Autophobia. I don't know where I got that.
You're great.
I learned queerness in a nightmare. We were wearing military fatigues, the boy and I. We were just dewy fawns, and in each other's arms we kissed in a way that children cannot understand. Did I know what a mouth tasted like? Or did I conjure up a taste from nothing, building a world of lips and tongues to cope with the dreadful love I saw? I don't remember why I told the boy about this dream, whether it was guilt or fear or a misplaced attempt at humor. Either way, he laughed at me through terrified eyes, and we stopped talking soon after. But all nightmare queers must live this story, I'm told. We must sacrifice respect for authenticity, always and ever. I was given the word anxiety. Anxiety here means a desire for impossible safety. Anxiety is the seed's terror at becoming a sapling. Anxiety is given to the moths afraid of fire. But I did not know anxiety then. I wanted material fears and sterile ritual. Everyone did. They handed me manila folders full of normal dreams, sentence stems from which to write recalcitrant revisions of every thought. Anxiety is also used to diagnose cultures. It's the forest's terror at imagining new and strange and twisted saplings. But I cannot fault my therapists, because I was just as afraid of myself as they were. They were doing their best. Their offices were so small. I closed the door behind me, my checkboxes ticked, apologizing on my way back into the world. My sharp edges still ashamed me. I did not know yet that I was a noble pronoun, one with stories to make and tell, that I was beginning a journey where I was the protagonist, conflict, and reward. In the bathroom mirror, in the window reflection, I saw a flame that I yearned to fly into. I tried on new words, new names. I told myself that I would shed the boy I was, that I could be something proud to live in others' lives, in my own life, clothed in moth wings, ready to burn. I was led by the hand to dance with the other pupa queers of earth beneath tall church windows. I did not dance, of course. I watched them dance. I watched their shaved temples, their jutting spikes, all their whirling risks and awkward breaths. I saw 50 futures for myself, all in tumbling pairs. At 13, still wet from a lifelong leaning by fear, I knelt and cried there, because from then on I could not deny I. And though I still sometimes try to deny my want for love and glory, I remember that I have had the courage to choose authenticity before, again and again and again, as all nightmare queers must.
All right, friends. I see folks already adding their thoughts, but I'll share my screen just to give folks another 30 seconds or so to add those buzzwords on Locrian's video. And appreciate the thoughts that folks have already shared already. And I see you in the chat as well, and appreciate your thoughts too. Awesome. All right. Well, rocking and rolling. Let me stop sharing. Got 2 more to go, friends. Oh. Appreciate you, Bridget.
Our next video is from 16-year-old Phoenix, and it's entitled A New Story. Let's check it out.
Allow this to be a story of freedom and peace. A story where the princess loves herself before she meets the prince, where she feels comfortable and beautiful in her own sense. She is strong and focused. I am the princess, constantly changing and revising my story. Too long have I waited for my prince, and too long have I wailed in his absence. Lifeless like a doll, I lay with my story, untold, unsaid. My life was painted on my body with nowhere to run, so I made a space for it in the silence. I began to live. But I am also the prince saving myself, the hero, the savior. I am the protector of my mind and soul. I have faced horrible foes, and I've fought evil. I survived. So yes, I have slayed the dragon, and I have climbed the tallest tower. I am proud. I am the land and the forest, forever full of magic and secrets forever untold. I have carried the burden of 1,000 warriors, and I still come out stronger than before. My hopes and dreams, little fairies at your feet, and my body is their mystic home. Finally, I am the darkness crept around the corner, the dragon, the beast, unafraid and untamed. I live genuinely and authentically myself. Perhaps I have daring eyes and sharp teeth, but they're me, and I'm content with that. I am every essence of my story. What do you not understand? From the ink to the characters, I am the princess, the prince, the forest, the darkness, and the creator, the beginning and the end, duality thriving in a single body. So yes, this is my story. This is my life. This is my time.
Also, so much love for these humans, and I see that echoed in the chat. I appreciate y'all. All right, y'all. Welcome in those buzzwords. I see folks have already shared. Just gonna give y'all another few moments to share. And for folks that have joined us late, if you just want to share in the chat words, singular words, buzzwords that come to mind for you as you watched that last video. And again, I appreciate so much what folks have shared already. I love that I am every essence of my story. Love, love, love. Amazing. And yeah, oh, Suki, that line stuck out to me in particular for sure. I am duality in a single body. Oh, all of these pieces incredible. All right, friends, one more to go, and then we'll close out and start getting into more in-depth discussion. So let me stop sharing my screen. Bridget, if you could do us just one more time for this last one, and then Jasmine, if you wanted to introduce it.
All right, our final video is from 15-year-old Ram Kelly, and it's entitled Scars. Let's check it out.
The land that first started as a tear has closed itself and became a mark that you soon begin to hate. You want to cover it up and hide it from the world as it is a proof of your weakness and vulnerability. You will hide it from the stares, the looks of disappointment, and the questions that emerge from the mouths of the intrusive. And that line you hide from yourself, as you don't want to think of the burden that gave the land a home, the thoughts that gave that land life, or the people that gave that line power. That line begins to taunt you. It knows that deep down you still have more precious to relieve. It knows how it got there and how to regain your hospitality. But you cover it to shut it up, because you know it can fill your mind as fast as it fills your legs. But the only way to get rid of its strength is by forgiving yourself for having left it there. Forgive yourself from the pain you have endured. Forgive yourself from the struggle you survived. And forgive yourself for everything you have done. Because there's no moving forward without acceptance of the present. Because those lines want you to have remorse. They want you to play into their game as they know each time you lose. And the more you let them provoke you, the more territory they will gain. And the harder you push yourself down, the harder it will be to pull yourself back up. So, you must forgive in order to forget, protect in order to stay intact, and accept in order to uplift. But are you willing to do that?
All right, friends. One more time, call for buzzwords. I'm seeing folks in there already. If it's more accessible for you to share your thoughts in the chat, absolutely feel free to do so. Let me go ahead and share this. And again, I so appreciate what folks have shared already. I appreciate y'all for watching all of these videos and holding that space and intention. I know this was a lot. These voices, these perspectives, these lived experiences are really powerful. And I also just want to honor, just sort of like as we transition into discussion, taking that intentional moment just to, take a deep breath, shake off the energy. You need to kind of reground a little bit, recenter. I feel that. I know that these videos bring a lot up for me. So just honoring that as folks finish adding their thoughts. Awesome. I see a lot on forgiveness and acceptance. Love. All right. So again, as folks are kind of bringing their energy back to center and back into this space, passing it to you, Jasmine, to kick us off on some larger discussion.
Thank you. These videos were amazing. And with that, we want to invite you all to unmute or jump in the chat box and just work with us and answer a couple of questions. The first question is, how do the themes of these poems relate to your community and the youth in your, or I'm sorry, how do the themes in these poems relate to your work with youth and in your community? The second question is, how can you draw parallels between the content shared in the videos and the communities you serve? If there's anyone that would like to come off mute or respond in the chat box, that would be great.
And folks can absolutely take a moment to percolate on these questions as well.
I can come off mute and share.
Please do. Thank you.
I have my camera off because I'm at home and my dogs are running around. But for the first question, it says, how do the themes of these poems relate to your work? So I work at the Port, which is a youth resource drop-in center, and we work with 16 to 25-year-olds. And with the passing of Senate Bill 150, I feel like I've just seen like this large uptick in the LGBTQ population that's coming in as they're like seeking this safe space. So the second poem, I feel like just kind of like hit in a certain way if you take certain hints or like kind of educate yourself about that population. And so I just feel like that's like a huge theme that I'm seeing is like they're seeking this safe space because they feel like they have nowhere else to turn. And then like that would be how I draw the parallel in between the two communities too. And like honestly, all of the videos relate to a lot of common struggles that majority of young adults and teens face today.
Thank you so much, JC. I agree. I imagine that others feel similarly, and I would love to hear your thoughts too, as well as acknowledging Jackie in the chat. They are the feelings of many of our youth in my community, from tragedy to triumph. Absolutely. Other folks who resonate, additional thoughts to share on these questions?
I think they were extremely powerful, and I see our youth also reacting the same way and probably being more comfortable doing it in the forum that they did than face to face with people quite often. Is that it seems like they felt that it was easier to speak their truth and how they were feeling to a camera that would be seen by people later than in the face-to-face, because we hear it from youth speaking of other youth, but for their own, they're not going to say that to us when we're dealing with them as much.
Sure. And definitely, I think a big piece of this at the heart of it is that these creative platforms not only like just illustrate and add more like just amazingness and nuance to these conversations and sentiments shared by youth of lived experience, but it also increases access, comfortability, right? Just sort of, rigid questions and answers and seeking feedback from youth, young people around their stories and ideas for greater change at face value is not always the most successful, right? So bringing in these creative mediums, platforms, opportunities through which youth can hone in on those things in a way that's more accessible to them. I love that.
Love that, Shane. Sean in the chat box said that everyone has a unique story to tell. And Kayla said, many of the youth I work with have very difficult life experiences as well as historical trauma to work through. These videos could be very relatable for youth I work with. It shows how powerful using your voice can be, also giving youth that space to share their experiences in such a powerful, real way. And Kendra mentioned common struggles my youth are dealing with, of course.
Thank you, Jasmine, and thank you all. Absolutely agree. Other thoughts, folks who resonate with these sentiments shared already, additional thoughts? And I absolutely always appreciate that note about like these platforms and opportunities, and even these videos themselves as resources can be particularly supportive to folks of historically and presently marginalized identities, right? Who oftentimes don't have, as many like opportunities and resources to connect with folks in community who are sharing these sentiments and having these conversations. Absolutely appreciate that too. Awesome. Just given some grace and space for anyone else who would like to share their thoughts in response to either of these first two questions on the videos themselves. Amazing. All right. I always take silence as an affirmation, although I imagine folks might still be adding things to the chat. That's great. But for now, Jasmine, if you want to kind of transition us to the next piece of this conversation.
All right. We just wanted to remind you all to keep in mind these calls to action, specifically identified by those young people. One is to listen to young people, expand opportunities for creative expression. We've seen that, and I know most folks who are doing youth engagement constantly try to find ways to bring that creative expression into the work. Champion youth leadership, right? So insist that young people are engaged, insist that young people are involved in the work. Uplift youth voice in policy and advocacy. All right. Our next set of questions here, we're going to kind of slowly walk through. We just want to give a few minutes to answer each one of these questions. The first question is, how could you imagine integrating these poet videos and the Amplifying Youth Voice initiative into your work with young people? I've already seen a few folks list how these videos could be supportive to the young people that they work with. If you could kind of just list out how you would integrate these videos into your work, that would be great. Or again, come off mute or drop it in the chat box.
I see you, Tandra, in the chat. I'm joining in late, but I provide a space specifically for youth voices to express their creativity and open mic space to receive peer support. I love that. Is there anything that you want to speak to around that? Feel free, but no obligation. That in the chat is amazing too, but wanted to give you that opportunity.
Hi, guys. I'm always excited about the opportunity to share in the room when I can get in with the guest group because I'm so team yes. But I do once a month, the last Saturday of every month. It is called the Youth Virtual Lounge, and it is specifically for that reason. to give them the opportunity to come in, to share whatever their talents are, whatever they want to express. If we need to table talk and talk about some topics that they're dealing with in their emotions and their mental space, where they can receive peer support. I am a certified peer support specialist. I'm also a trauma coach. I am a grandmother. I work with youth, so I have so many different, hats that I play. And I was that mom, where my kids were growing up. I was that mom that, all the kids came over to hang out with, to talk. So I understood that, a lot of times the youth are not comfortable with sharing things, with their parents. Sometimes they need a space to talk about their parents, to where they're not necessarily trying to be offensive, but to receive some understanding of what they're dealing with. And a lot of times it be because they're wanting to protect their parent. So where do you go? Where do you go when you want to talk about your parents, but you can't talk to your parents about them? Because they're going to be defensive, and not necessarily receive the criticism that they need. So I specifically provide that space and opportunity. And I'm also I'm a spoken word artist. I'm a published author. So I understand also that space of being able, to create, to have a platform to where you can go to showcase that. I'm also working on a 2-day summit next year that is also a youth summit that I will be looking to host in June, which is ADHD and ADD Awareness Month, specifically those months for that reason. Which will also be a showcasing specifically for youth and giving them the opportunity to showcase their talents as models, as designers, curated art shows, all of that, because it is so very needed. Especially in this day and time, our youth are dealing with a whole lot more than what we were dealing with in my age. And so, that need to be able to express, whatever I can do to provide that, I make sure that I do that. So thank you so much for the opportunity to share that. I will put my information in the chat as well.
That's what I was gonna say. You got links for folks to check out and explore more, or even connect with you on what you shared. Would love that, and thank you so much for sharing. And I hope that this effort also might inform and support you in your effort as well. So again, thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Shane. Other responses to this question was show the videos to young people and kind of gather their opinions and maybe even ask them to share on their lived experience, kind of using as conversation starters. Also share the videos with the regional youth coordinators and encourage them to kind of write their own and maybe share their own lived experiences with different audiences. Sharing in our youth and young adult support groups and independent living classes. Also share on the website and Facebook page. Love the social media aspect.
Awesome. Jasmine, you sound a little far away, like just as of right now.
It's this thunderstorm.
I hear you perfect now.
Okay. Other responses include sharing with staff, and then with youth, and making sure that there's enough staff and others to be able to deal with whatever may be coming up for the young people. That support is definitely important. Thank you all for sharing with this particular question. Let's go ahead and move into the next question. I know we're running a little low on time. Are you aware of similar work happening in your community? And are there any efforts that you all would like to highlight that might be happening? If so, again, feel free to come off mute or drop it in the chat box.
I can mention another one. Oops, sorry.
Oh, please do. No, I can note in the chat afterwards. You please go ahead.
sorry, I'm also trying to leave my house because I have to go start picking up kids. But that are you aware of like similar work happening? Like I mentioned Senate Bill 150 and like the uptick of like the LGBTQ plus population. And I just feel like the port has tried to do like a really good job of like letting young adults and youth know that that is a safe space for them to come in and ask questions and talk about it. Like I mean, it's literally happening today, but we've been doing it probably since the end of December. But we have Matthew 25 come in and do like sexuality talks with them because of Senate Bill 150, they've like limited what is allowed in their sexual education programs, but then also they're not allowed to ask any questions regarding sexuality, gender, family planning. So it just allows them like that safe space to talk to people who are educated and to find those answers. And then also like we've allowed our youth to paint like a big mural in the building, and the mural is using all the different flag colors from all the different like LGBTQ flags, like the gay flag, the lesbian flag, the trans flag, and they like incorporated it into the painting. And then the big like
Money
centerpiece of the
makes from
painting,
everywhere. We are a money mag.
Sorry, go ahead.
we're like, because it's called the port, the big centerpiece of the mural is like a lighthouse and it's wrapped in a rainbow. So that way, like they subtly know without having to ask anybody that as soon as they walk in the door that this is like a safe space for them.
Very, very cool. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I see that someone has a question for you in the chat if you'd like to respond to that too. And then I think we had a decent amount of additional things added to the chat as well. I see from Sydney, I'm a transition age youth coordinator, and we are currently working on getting a I'm assuming transition age youth. I don't know what LRD is. What's that?
Tailored. It's tailored.
Ah, tailored. Ah, got you. Okay. Drop-in center open in our area. We are in the beginning stage, but it is going to be so amazing when we get it open. We have toured a couple and they are wonderful. I love that. I think for any like community spaces where you are welcoming youth and young adults of lived experience, this could absolutely be a benefit to showing them and seeking their feedback, with that added nuance that someone did note in the chat that, like, giving that content note and then also making sure to provide opportunities for support if folks are activated, are looking to continue the conversation, vent, debrief after those too. So
We don't
Go
we
ahead.
don't have legislation or anything against that, like Florida and some of the other states, but we are rural frontier Nevada, and it is not talked about. And so we don't have a lot of support for supporting youth in those aspects because it's just, it doesn't happen here as far as some of our government and our school district is concerned. So we're unable to openly support and work with it. So we have the support and we have safe spaces and places for them, but it is not, we are not able to celebrate and to be real open for these youth. So I think they suffer for that.
And I want to just share my love and appreciation for you and other folks in those states and communities with that infrastructure too. I was just on a call with someone earlier talking about that, right? Like they really wanted to have meaningful conversations with young people of lived experience around like their LGBTQIA plus identities, right? But they were in a state that prevented them from even using folks's chosen names and pronouns. So, I appreciate that. And I understand, depending on the climate that you're in your communities, the doability of seeking out like certain types of insight and having conversations across certain topics can be a struggle to navigate and work through. Although I know that there are many collectives, organizations, advocacy groups doing amazing work to try to mitigate and navigate that. So I do appreciate you sharing. Awesome. Jasmine, was there other thoughts in the chat that I missed before I open it up to additional thoughts?
think we are covered.
I did see youth listening sessions. I think that that's great. And youth advisory groups, yeah, to find out what the youth we work with want to see in the community and work together on making those things happen. Absolutely. So I think it's sort of like a two-part thing, like, you know, the so spaces, Tandra, that you create where young people can be in community with each other and support each other through like creative expression, I think is amazing. And then there's that additional piece of informing greater change, those calls to action, those next steps for folks to better support folks moving through the struggles that they did and their lived experiences, right? So I think those like youth advisory groups, those listening sessions, I think that that's a wonderful piece of this too. Awesome. So definitely want to open it up. We have another like maybe 3 minutes for folks to have any last thoughts that they have, especially with this last question here that I can just kind of put out there. But again, welcome thoughts across all three of these. What advice or recommendations might some of y'all have for communities interested in creating or expanding creative arts programming for young people to support their mental health? And I see from Kayla, I would love to see more creative outlets for the youth in my community like these videos. I think absolutely you can take inspiration from this initiative and replicate it in your communities for sure. And I love that just intention in general. Thank you for sharing, Kayla. Other
I'd love
folks.
to kind of answer this question too, because I feel like the youth population that we have in our Taylor Drop-In Center at the port, they are very artistic, like they're very creative. That's like something they love to paint, they love to draw. And one thing that we've really put a like vocal focus point on is like just asking them. I think that's something that's like really, really important. I'm only 23, so I'm also a certified youth peer support specialist. I think a lot of teens, youth, even young adults, like all the way up to like 26, 27, like you're still kind of overlooked as like you're not smart enough to make a decision on your own, or like you don't know exactly what you want. So their opinion isn't always taken into account when we're like trying to create these things for them. And I just feel like even though we might feel like we're helping by trying to create these things for them, just always like really emphasizing that like their voice is the most important, and like what they want and how they want it is like a really big piece in like creating that safe space and them being safe enough to want to show their creative side.
1000%. Asuki also affirmed in the chat. Thank you so, so much. I love that. Wholeheartedly agree. And definitely like encourage folks to consider that feedback along with like all the sentiments shared as you might kind of consider how to weave this initiative into your communities or get involved with similar work.
Hey Shane, can I jump in and actually answer this as well?
Please do.
I think Kayla was the one who mentioned in the chat box that they would love to see more creative videos and things and opportunities like this in their community. And I think as adults, where our role comes in at is making sure that these types of opportunities are accessible and are funded for young people. So when we're in the rooms and we're creating grants and we're writing different proposals, we need to be thinking about how to make sure that young people have the versatility that they need to not just make videos, but to do whatever it is that they would like to do. Much like what JC said.
Yeah. And Shane, this is Suki. I would love to jump in real quick. I super double click on what Jasmine just said. I don't think I can say it any better except to just say yes, yes, yes. And I think the one note that I would add just from my personal experience working with these amazing young people is one of the things that I witnessed that I've carried with me after working with them individually is that I witnessed a profoundly transformative experience that these young people went through. And I think sometimes when we're in the mental health space and we're thinking about billing codes and grants and programming requirements and things like that, like sometimes we can kind of get detached from the understanding that art can affect our hearts and our souls and our minds and transform us in a way that a 50-minute therapeutic hour or even really great peer support just can't. And so it's just so critical that our systems are funding this exactly like Jasmine said, and that we're not thinking of integrating creative arts opportunities in our systems as something that's separate and like nice to have, but that it's something that is critical and necessary to have. In the same way that we think about self-care is necessary to avoid burnout. You know, it's like, it's one of those things, like sometimes that gets a little squishy. And so, yeah, so just really wanted to double click on that point. And then also just as a really quick FYI, because I don't think it was mentioned, Ram Kelly, on her AYV page on the website, her poem is also available in Spanish. So I just wanted to just put that out there in case you serve folks who speak Spanish, to just kind of put that out there, because I know it's really important to kind of hear a voice and tone in your own language. And so they translated that themselves. It wasn't like, you know, somebody else. It was they did that. So just wanted to note that. Thank you all so much.
And thank you, Suki. And thank folks. I know that we're moving towards the end of our time here. So if folks do want to drop any links, efforts, events that they want to highlight, we'll make sure to capture that and send that in our follow-up to y'all. If you have any like big topics that we have not explored yet in these sessions that you've been really thinking about and could use a yes session on, definitely feel free to add your ideas in the chat as well. But in this slide deck, and as you can see here in our take-home tidbits, we are linking, and I think Bridget already did, the link to the AYV webpage. And then we also have an additional sheet of resources for folks to continue to explore this idea in their communities a little bit further. But for now, I just want to appreciate y'all so much for being here, for watching these videos and honoring these folks' lived experiences and sentiments, for sharing your thoughts and supporting us with making this effort bigger. Again, follow-up email with all materials will be included. Another plug for our System of Care virtual summit. If you have not registered already, please do. We'd love to have you there. And I believe that more or less wraps us up. We always appreciate your feedback. So please share your thoughts in our evaluation. And feel free, as always, to stay connected with us across social media, through our NTAC website, and otherwise through this contact information. Excuse me, lots of talking today, but I appreciate y'all so much. Hope everybody has a wonderful day. And we'll catch you next time. Thanks all.
Thank you.